Welcome to the Pregnancy Health News Brief. I'm Lisa Bourne, Managing Editor of Pregnancy Health News. Here's a look at this month's top stories. Michaela's son taught her the value of life even as his would not extend beyond the womb. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance praised babies and families at CPAC, along with emphasizing support for pregnancy health. Things have gotten so bad at Planned Parenthood that even the New York Times is paying attention. The nation with the highest abortion rate is embracing abortion pill reversal. President Donald Trump's FDA nominee said he'll review in-person dispensing of the abortion drug mifepristone. Pennsylvania's pro-abortion governor is endeavoring to replicate pregnancy help with state dollars, and there are some questions. Now, let's take a more detailed look at these stories. Michaela would have supported abortion, believing that protecting women's rights meant backing the so-called pro-choice movement before her first pregnancy. Then her unborn son was diagnosed with multiple fetal anomalies early in pregnancy. Michaela's baby passed away somewhere between 21 and 24 weeks, and she was induced for labor. Holding her deceased son after delivery caused a shift in her views, and she said it was bittersweet to hold him, knowing she would leave the hospital without him. Michaela was the patient of pro-life Dr. William Lyle, and she reached out to Dr. Lyle to tell him his care changed her view on abortion and altered her life. She told Dr. Lyle, quote, "The care you provided me during that time went beyond medical care. It was a reminder of the profound dignity and value of human life, even in its smallest and most fragile forms." End quote. Michaela was eager to share her story, to bring light to the truth regarding life-affirming care and how the unborn are precious lives that deserve to be protected. Vice President J.D. Vance discussed his Christian faith and the importance of family at the Conservative Political Action Conference and explained what the Trump administration's policies have to do with both. Vice President Vance said that babies are good and families are good, and he said that the whole point of the administration's policies is to make it easier for young moms and young dads to choose life, to start families, and to bring new life into the world. These remarks echoed what Vice President Vance had said from the stage at the March for Life rally in Washington, D.C. back in January. There has been much coverage of the New York Times report on Planned Parenthood because the article ran contrary to the typical legacy media narrative in support of abortion and abortion providers. The New York Times article titled "Botched Care and Tired Staff, Planned Parenthood in Crisis" came as calls have grown louder for federal funding of Planned Parenthood to be ended. The New York Times piece details scores of allegations of botched abortions and substandard care at Planned Parenthood centers. Some of the shocking details in the report included inexperienced peers training new employees, intense pressure on Planned Parenthood staff to attract more clients and bring in more income. Staff recounting stories of seeing children as young as 12 and 13 receiving abortions, sometimes because a family member had gotten them pregnant. Clients given wrong meds and others given expired pain meds. Buildings in desperate need of repairs, including backed up sewage, with clients vomiting from the stench, and staff who reported discrimination or poor clinic practices being fired. Nothing in the New York Times report will surprise the pro-life movement, and it is encouraging for an outlet in the corporate media to shed this light on Planned Parenthood. Heartbeat International's own Krista Brown writes about how, over the last 9 years, Russian physician Alexei Fokin has seen increased demand for abortion pill reversal and worked tirelessly to raise awareness of the APR protocol. Fulkin's team has established an awareness-raising project, including a website and educational videos on YouTube. The team also shares about APR on Instagram and Facebook. The Russian government is supportive of APR, and efforts to save lives via APR across Russia are on the increase. Chicago-based Aid for Women, a network of pregnancy help medical clinics and maternity homes in the Chicago metropolitan area, hosted the baptism of a client's baby on January 22nd, the anniversary of Roe v. Wade and the annual day of prayer for the legal protection of the unborn. The client first learned about Aid for Women when she found out that she was pregnant, as she was transitioning out of her home and her career, with no steady work or no place to live. After moving into Aid for Women maternity homes, she found community with the other moms, helping her to grow in confidence and to achieve her goals of being able to support herself and her baby. The client said, quote, "Without Aid for Women, I wouldn't be the strong woman I am becoming. I am grateful for all that Aid for Women has done for us as I continue to grow as a woman and a mother." End quote. In addition to the client and the priest confecting the sacrament, the joy-filled baptism was attended by the client's parents, the child's godmother, other pregnancy center staff, volunteers, and 4 seminarians from the Archdiocese of Green Bay, Wisconsin. The baptism taking place on this day symbolized how all Americans are invited to help build a culture of life. President Donald Trump's pick to head the U.S. Food and Drug Administration said he would take a solid, hard look at the data on chemical abortion pill mifepristone during his confirmation hearing. Dr. Marty Makary made his remarks on the abortion drug before the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee during his hearing for FDA Commissioner. Mifepristone is the first of 2 drugs in a chemical abortion and was approved in 2000 in a process that some pro-life advocates argue was hurried, not in accord with science or law, and steeped in politics. The FDA then loosened its own safety standards on the drug in 2016 and 2021. Dr. Makary said it does make sense to review the totality of data and ongoing data in regard to mifepristone access. Dr. Makary said he personally knows of OB doctors who choose, even though they have the option to prescribe otherwise, to insist that mifepristone be taken in their offices as they observe the person taking the drug. He said he thinks their concern is that if this drug is used in the wrong hands, it could be used for coercion. Dr. Makary was expected as of production of this month's Pregnancy Help News Brief to be confirmed by the full Senate. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro announced via the Pennsylvania Health Department a plan for a pilot program that mimics the concept of pregnancy centers and will be funded by Pennsylvania tax dollars. The governor has not been shy about expressing his stance against pregnancy centers. One of Shapiro's first efforts in office in August 2023 was to remove state funding from pregnancy centers affiliated with the long-standing Real Alternatives program. Just a few months later, Democrat Governor Shapiro's Attorney General invited criticism of pregnancy centers statewide by placing a form on the website titled Report Reproductive Health Deceptive Activity. Pregnancy center directors and the Pennsylvania Pregnancy Wellness Collaborative have invited Governor Shapiro to visit pregnancy help centers, but the governor has yet to make a visit to any pregnancy center. Pregnancy help advocates on the ground in Pennsylvania question why the state is spending $1.3 million on a 2-year pilot that has already been provided by pregnancy centers across the state. They also question whether Shapiro's aim is to produce a center with all the services already provided by pregnancy centers, with one glaring exception, that these state-funded centers will refer for abortions. While it has not been mentioned by state officials, centers need to be prepared, they say. Local pregnancy help advocates say it is a positive that the state is catching up to what pregnancy centers have been doing for 50 plus years. Pregnancy Help News writer Tabitha Goodling penned an open letter to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in his capacity as Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. Tabitha asked whether Secretary Kennedy would maintain his stance on abortion, and she discussed the various things that have been directed at pregnancy help centers since the Supreme Court Dobbs ruling overturned Roe v. Wade. She told him plainly that despite claims from abortion proponents that pregnancy centers are a threat to reproductive freedom, the fact is that pregnancy centers threaten no one, yet they, however, are under attack. Tabitha detailed the services and support provided to women by pregnancy centers at no cost to the client. She asked Secretary Kennedy to examine the safety issues around abortion drug mifepristone, the science behind abortion pill reversal, and she asked him to take a good look at the nation's largest abortion provider, Planned Parenthood. She said, quote, "You have 4 years to work at making America healthy again. It is my hope that in the process you pull the blinders off of Americans on abortion and pregnancy help centers." End quote. That's the news for this episode of the Pregnancy Help News Brief. All of these stories and more are available to you 24/7 at pregnancyhelpnews.com. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Pregnancy Help News Brief on the Pregnancy Help Podcast. I'm Lisa Bourne. Subscribe to receive updates on future episodes.